What's up? Welcome. It's the 4th Spooktober. 4 in a row. If you've not experienced Spooktober, this is it. The Lost Boys was pretty much what we did every time. And we're changing it up, right? How many times can you do Lost Boys? Well, I guess you can do it a lot of times, right? But we changed it up. We're going to be doing a series of bangers tonight. Some little bit of gross stuff, so gotta warn everybody that it's a little gross tonight. I didn't realize I was playing the Lost Boys with the movie clips, so now it says that it's detected the copyright stuff, which is probably gonna affect the audience in terms of whether they keep notifying or not. Anyway, but I can edit out that beginning later, or I can just move this basically over to Rockfin. But yo, what's up? So just waiting on Jamie to get in here. We're gonna have a fun time tonight. We got a few movies actually, and I'm just kind of like, I'm over here singing, you know what I'm saying? I'm just dancing. I was dancing to that sweet Lost Boys music, but now I gotta get into movie mode. One thing I do want to say to remind everybody that if you subscribed to the site, right, and you were worried about the recent PayPal news, I would just tell everybody that, you know, you can always subscribe to the site in other ways. You don't have to use that means. You can use credit card, and you can also subscribe over on Rockfin. So there's, you know, multiple ways to get the same content. There's pros and cons either way, but just a little bit of a reminder because a lot of people were asking about due to the recent PayPal news that I'm sure everybody's heard. You know, however you choose to handle that, you can still get my content through the website using, you know, credit card or something like that. So, welcome everybody. It's Spooktober. We're going to be covering a little bit of funky stuff. Somebody said, I'm just here for that stank-ass Greyhound bus story. Well, you're going to get something equivalent to that, but with Robert Pattinson inside of a lighthouse. Basically, the lighthouse will become a giant stank house, basically. If you saw this bizarre movie, kind of grossed me out. But actually, a couple of these kind of grossed me out. So, not necessarily recommending the movies that we analyze, but it is Spooktober, and I didn't really know what I was getting into. So, the Smile was a little gruesome, but a pretty well done horror movie. If you didn't see my philosophical analysis of horror films a few months ago, definitely watch that podcast. It was a good one. We're going to be covering the Hocus Pocus 2, which I didn't even know this movie existed. And then suddenly I was like doing analyses of this ridiculous Disney movie. And then, of course, Days Lit Analyzer and Cotel did an analysis of Hocus Pocus 2, and I listened to some of that, and of course, obviously they came to a lot of the same conclusions that we had planned to come to, and Jamie and I did an analysis of that years ago. In fact, we did one of our first podcasts was The Witch and Hocus Pocus, like back in 2015, bro, like, you know, aeons ago. And so this is odd because The Lighthouse is Eggers' new film, the guy that did The Witch, or the Vavitch, however you're supposed to pronounce that in that Calvinist Puritan speak. Can you speak Puritan? Can you speak Calvinist? Vavitch. And, you know, the Vavitch was a weird movie and had all those esoteric occult themes that you would expect. And here we are, what, 6-7 years later, and we're doing Hocus Pocus 2, which was pretty bad. But I mean, thick with propaganda. Thick like all the thighs in that movie thick, right? I'm talking Thiccc. I'm talking thick. Thicc Peniston thick. That's how thick I'm talking. I'm talking thunder thighs. People said, Jay, how you got such a big ass? I said, because I got a thick body built for birthing, baby. Thunder thighs. And by the way, did y'all like when I got into my Hobbit song? A lot of people didn't get that. They said, what is this Hobbit song? This is weird. Sassy little Frodo. Well, did you notice that when Frodo got on that ring tip, he started getting sassy? A sassy little hobbit, right? I mean, he wasn't just pissing off Sam. He was starting to piss me off. I'm like, Frodo, you bitchy little thing. Fussing, sassing everybody, hurting Sam's feelings, just being an overall rude jerk of a hobbit. Well, I got to thinking that reminds me of a love song I thought of. I'm in love with a hobbit. Oh! Anyway, somebody said that sounded like Prince. You're correct. It's every song is Prince inspired, basically. And then somebody said, it sounds like Flight of the Conchords. And then I thought about it. Yeah, actually, it does kind of sound like Flight of the Conchords. Anyway, so I got a couple new songs in the works because this has turned into its own thing. People are really enjoying the hit factory over here, dropping these bombs on your eardrums. Yeah, everybody, how can you not like the Hobbit song? A couple of people get mad. Every time I make one of those songs, people get mad. There's, what is this? Why is he doing this? We're just having fun, dude. And everybody acts like it's some weird, like, why does he make these goofy videos? Dude, we've been doing the same goofy stuff since I was on. I got on YouTube in 2007, and the first stuff I uploaded was ridiculous stuff. So, where you been? You've been out of the loop. Jamie's going to be here in a minute, so don't worry. We're going to get started. But we wanted to have some fun. My new song is about simps. Simps, baby. Simps. Simpy. I got that simpy. I think you're going to like it. It's not like any of the other songs. And that's the great thing about the genre bending talent that I have is basically you don't know what genre the next song's going to be, right? I mean, it might be a country song. You might think you're listening to, old Charlie Daniels over here. Then the next time I flip the script and you think, this is Prince. This is an unknown Prince song. How did I not hear this Prince song that dropped, right? Then you turn on the radio dial to what you think is a different station, and it's me rapping. It's Jordan Peterson rap. You just don't know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? Did I put that Jordan Peterson rap in here? You might get gossiping, right? You just don't know. And, that's how we roll around here. That's what we do. If you would hit like and share, welcome everybody. I might have screwed the stream up because I played that Lost Boys clip and it already done danged me. It ding-donged me. Do you ever wonder what it was going to be like to be in a tight, dank, enclosed space filled with Willem Dafoe's toots? Did you ever wonder? I know you wondered that. Well, that movie, The Lighthouse, will give you the direct experience of that. I know I was wondering that for a long time, right? What would it be like to just be going nuts, drinking kerosene and just letting Willem Dafoe just rip one in my face, or 2 or 3 or 20. It's a weird movie, dude. I mean, that dude was ripping so many gaseous globules inside of the lighthouse. I mean, at one point, you think that lighthouse is gonna just go volatile. It's getting pretty rough up in there. And that's all it takes to drive Robert Pattinson crazy. Jamie! You ready? Bring the notes. It's showtime at the Apollo. Come do your Martin Lawrence comedy skit. Martin! Showtime with the Apollo. Come on. Bring the notes. If you would hit like and share. We do have some super chats from the last time that came in late. So I'll read some of those. If you do want to enjoy the night's show, this show will probably go immediately over to Rockfin since I already screwed up the algorithm by playing the Ding Dang Lost Boys. What's up, Jamie? Hey. Welcome. You got enough room over there? I know I got big birthing thighs, so I don't know if you can fit on this thing. Can you?
Yeah.
That's a joke. I don't really have birthing thighs.
You have birthing
Serious calves. Jamie. Birthing calves. My calves give birth to other calves. And by calves, I mean baby cows. What's up?
I've been reading this.
So when we went to D.C. and I spoke in D.C., when you go in the bookstores now, it's all just straight up witchcraft. Like, everything's just been converted to total Hocus Pocus world. We live in the world of Hocus Pocus.
And Harry Potter.
Yeah, I mean, we just did Harry Potter, by the way. We had a really good response. We got almost 20,000 on our Harry Potter podcast over here on YouTube. That's pretty awesome. You know, we're starting to get a little traction.
But that's weird because it's 20 years old almost already.
Well, but we haven't covered it. It was
I mean, when we went to the bookstore.
Oh, yeah.
And it's still all the merchandise.
Yeah, there's Harry Potter merchandise everywhere in the bookstore. Exactly. Along with this thing, which is like straight up. Remember, I told you guys this. They're going to push paganism.
It was a whole wall of this. It was like paganism, witches, Halloween, all of this. And so I've been reading about Margaret Murray.
Who's Margaret Murray? Tell me about her.
She was like...
she sounds like bad news.
A anthropologist who studied witchcraft, and so a lot of things that they talk about witchcraft, she's like a expert on.
Okay.
And there's this like witch cult hypothesis that it's an ancient religion, or is it a new thing? So there's like...
It's a made up thing.
Well,
there is ancient witchcraft.
Yeah.
Right, but
like Wicca is not.
Right. Crusty old Jared Gardner was just a pervy man.
So here's Margaret Murray. Can you see that?
She looks like a Pillsbury dough grandmother. Like she's about to make you some Pillsburies.
It was pretty interesting because, let's see. There was talk of, I don't think you can say this.
Somebody said I look like Gal Gadot.
You do?
Yeah. Sorry. Because usually people said Jamie, but now it's me. Now Jamie's jealous. She's like, you look like him. What?
It says, in a 1918 paper, Murray considered the evidence for CHILD SAC.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
Among the witches. She found that babies, often unbaptized newborns, were sometimes taken by witches for special services. Here the babies would be unalived, often by inserting a needle in the brain and the flesh prepared for consumption. So this is right.
So you're saying this woman discovered that she found in her day covens really doing that? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, it doesn't surprise me, but yeah.
Okay, this is so crazy. One way of ensuring witches never confessed was to feed them the tongue of a baby. This way, the witch's own tongue would be as powerless as a baby to reveal their secrets. So I guess this is a good segue into Hocus Pocus too, which you...
Is that what you want to do first?
Yeah,
okay.
Because we're already talking about witches, so you might as well. And he hates Salem witchcraft. You hate the Salem
I call it the Salem witchcraft. I mean, aren't you guys tired of this? It's like the most overdone, and it's always the same lie, right? The Puritans burn millions of witches.
Innocent
Christians burn millions of witches. There's not millions of people there weren't millions of witches, first of all. That's totally nonsense, right?
Oh.
And the Salem witch theme, that the story's always the same. It's a ghost, in movies that's haunting people because she was burned in the Salem witch trials, right?
Right.
It's always the same.
Unjustly for just liking nature.
Right. The only time I've liked it was Silent Hill, just because that was a fun video game. Otherwise, don't bring me none of this. Although the Silent Hill game had the Illuminati in it. It was basically like the town was run by a secret society that was dedicated to Satanism.
So I remember in catechism class they were talking about that and
about Silent Hill.
No,
your church was
about witch trials and stuff like that.
You joined the gamer church,
and they were like, the church's position is that witches aren't that powerful that we have to hunt them down and execute them.
Witch trial.
Yeah. Ha. Which witch trial?
I was trying to think of the Cheech and Chong version of it.
What's that?
Do you remember because they do a version of it.
Oh, okay.
Where they're like, who is this? Who is this? This is. Who is this is?
How about these nuts?
Somebody brought up these nuts the other day, and I was like, yes,
really?
Exactly, these nuts.
These nuts. Okay.
These nuts.
But, yeah, so I don't know what the Catholic Church did, or the Puritans or whatever, but Orthodox Church, their like official position is that we don't do that. We don't witch hunt. We don't execute because they don't.
Well, in the Orthodox view, that would not be the purview of the church. It would be left up to the state. So there have been situations when the state banished people for these kinds of things, but I'm not aware of burning witches that I've ever heard of. But
so we did a show about Hocus Pocus 1.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Did you remember that not only did we do Hocus Pocus, but in that same episode we did the Witch?
Yeah.
That is Robert Eggers' movie that did The Lighthouse.
Oh.
Yep.
So it all comes full...
It's full circle, dude. Now
full moon goddess circle.
When I met you, I was the apprentice. Now I am the master. It's full circle.
So Hocus Pocus 1, the beginning was about them sucking...
When I met you, I was the apprentice. You had the big audience.
I taught you everything you know
about the business. Now I am the master.
I knew that.
I didn't even realize my joke actually applied. I was just being an idiot.
Well, because when I met you, I was like, he's smart, he's handsome, he's funny, he's got the whole package, he can be huge.
Who?
You.
Which guy?
You.
Who?
When I met you.
Joking.
So, I'm like...
Who?
I can help you. Anyways, so the Hocus Pocus 1 was about stealing the child's essence.
Oh, thank you. Yes, let's get back on track. I'm getting really way out in left field. Right. So, you when we were watching part 2, you were reminding me of the stuff in part 1 because I didn't remember it, even though we did watch it back in the day and did analysis of it.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten that. Right. But this comes up again, like stealing the kid essence.
Right, and then the witches come back because a virgin burns the candle. And so these themes are coming up in a child's movie, and they're like, what's a virgin? And they even made fun of that in the Hocus Pocus 2, that the subject matter is mature.
A little mature, right.
Yeah.
And also, Basil Litt Analyzer made a good point with Kotel that this is taken from The Tempest.
Oh.
The Three Witches.
Yes. That's
from The Tempest. And in the first one, they even use one of the lines from The Tempest. So this is a Shakespearean copy, you could say, rip-off satire. But there actually are some subversive elements to the film.
Well, in Hocus Pocus 2, the O is a spiral.
Interesting.
And if you know about the FBI
we know what that, we know. Yeah.
Spiral, we all know what that means. So Hocus Pocus 2 goes back to the witches' childhood and how they became witches.
Right. The evil Christians persecuted them.
Right.
Although we do have to admit that the Puritans were actually evil. So they were a piss poor, deformed version of Christianity. So this is understandable. I mean.
Well, so the town Plymouth pastor wants her to get married, and she doesn't want to get married. Right?
You talking about the
Bette
Midler one?
Yeah.
Yeah, with jacked up teeth.
Yes.
The British teeth in rebellion.
So,
her teeth are in anarchy.
Right. So she's banished to the Forbidden Woods, and it's interesting because this book was actually talking about witchcraft and wooded areas and how
the woods are chaos.
Yeah.
The woods are chaos.
Well, even back to like ancient Roman times, the people that lived in northern Europe in the wooded areas were more...
They were the barbarians.
Yeah.
The barbarians.
And the barbarians.
Yeah, barbarians.
And they were the ones known for doing paganism.
Right.
So this book is not just about witchcraft, it's about paganism altogether. It's got
Right.
chapters on what's that, Vikings?
Yeah, and I told people that this was being put into the culture back in 2016, 17, 18 by design, and that the establishment would be pushing paganism and neo-paganism in all forms because it blends with the eco agenda. And here we are. It's actually in the bookstores when you go in the bookstores. And I mean, when I said this in 20, oh, no way, dude. Nah, they're not going to push Odinism and paganism. The system hates that. Oh. Yeah, right. Now, here we are.
This is all about Viking myths, cosmology, Roman religion, gods of ancient Egypt, gods of Greece, Olympians, and it doesn't hold back on the gory truth about human SACRFIC.
Yeah, humans being unhumaned.
Yes.
For the entities.
And being yum-yums.
Yeah,
right?
Cannibalism. Right?
Yeah.
Cannibalism.
So it's not really trying to whitewash anything. It's actually 3 or 4 different chapters have admitted that this is part of it. Anyways.
Yep.
So the little girl wants to get married.
Right.
No, doesn't want to get married, and the town's trying to make her get married.
They're feminists.
They escape into the
girl
woods.
Power.
Right. And they meet the Scarlet Woman. Remember the ancient...
Yeah, I was never clear who this woman was out in the woods.
They didn't really say. She's
right.
just like the Arc Witch or whatever.
Okay.
And she's actually a bird also. That's so she's more ancient.
Well, she's a form of nature. Like she's a goddess of some kind. She's
yeah,
probably the goddess,
but she's
right?
all so she's all dressed in red, and she's the one that gives them the book, which is a lot like the Necronomicon, right? Because that's supposed to be made of human skin.
It actually looks like it. I'm sure they were drawing from, Evil Dead. But keep in mind, too, that if you notice, she actually does have an inverted pentagram, right? Like, she doesn't show up as a white magician, a white, what's the good witch, like Glinda. She actually has an inverted pentagram right here.
Well, she comes to eat them. So when she comes upon them, she is, like, almost going to eat them until she... feels the witch power coming off of the girl. So she gives her the book. That's how they become who they are. And then fast forward to today. So it's interesting, in the first one, it was about overcoming witchcraft with good or whatever, or innocence or whatever. But this one is about overcoming witches by being more powerful witches.
Well, and they actually go to heaven. At the end, they go to witch heaven to all be together, right?
Yeah.
So these 3 witches who are evil, wicked characters, defeated in the first one, right, by Vanessa Shaw and her brother, right? In this one, they are reconciled with the teenage girls who become the new coven, and the 3 witches go off to witch heaven to be together. So there's no punishment for their lifetime of eating babies. Which is literally what they talk. Now, I mean, I know it's supposed to be a silly kids show, but the message of the kids show is that there are no repercussions for your wicked actions, because it's very Crowleyan, because Crowley said that the purpose of all of his magic was the equalization of all actions. So there's nothing good or bad. It's just relevant to the magician. And so in the end, good is bad, bad is good.
Right. So the 3 teens, the little teen witch club, right? She does a spell on this boy, not a real spell, but she starts saying all these vegan words, and he thinks it's a spell.
Right.
So they're linking veganism and witchcraft together.
Right. Well, us cracker boys are all dumb. Right. We're all dumb.
Well,
we don't know nothing.
Dumb jock, so he doesn't know what she's saying.
Yeah, I don't know words. You sending them words to me. Word salad. It's like, pre-sub is word salad. They
go to the magic shop, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Remember? Ye old magic shoppy. And,
well, there's an occult bookstore now, right? I don't think there's any references to the church at all in this movie.
No.
But the locus of the action takes place in the film in the ritual site in the woods and at the occult bookstore.
Right. Which is owned by this older guy who gives the 16-year-old new witch a candle that he charged.
Yeah.
with powerful magic just for her birthday.
Well, he implies that it was sex he charged.
Well, that's how you charge things.
I know, but I'm saying that in this movie that's implied explicitly.
Yeah, gross.
But also keep in mind that never mind. I forgot that. I can't remember if that's in the first one or not. Go ahead.
Oh. Well, so they go and they light this candle and they summon the witches, and the witches come back, and right away they're like, where are the children to eat?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And they talk about the cosmetic products.
Yes.
As if, right, that's made with children.
Well, they say the makeup, it already has the children in it, and the witch is like, oh, okay.
Because it keeps you young.
Right. So they imply that there's HUMANS in skincare things, which there is parts of them, if not, I mean, there have been
news stories, right? There have been news stories that claim this, and yeah, well, they were pushing that whole thing of foreskin,
right?
Makeup, which supposedly who was it? It was Celine Dion was into, right?
Sandra Bullock got that one, I think. So, and then we were talking about Walgreens is witchcraft because it's pharmakia, and that's like the literal definition of.
Watch out, because we're on YouTube. So
okay.
But you guys know what we mean.
One of the witch sisters, I forgot her name in real life, Kathy something, the brunette one, not Sarah Jessica Parker, right? Bette Miller.
She's got what looks to be Guillain-Barré. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah. I mean, that's all I'm going to say about that. And then, so they go to Walgreens, and she takes out this face mask like it's skin, and they start eating it. Remember that? Mm-hmm. So come to find out, the witch sisters are idols in the community now.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Did you notice that all of the young people, including the guy that owns the magic store, all the teenagers, everybody worships the witches?
Yeah.
So the new religion, whatever all the millennials and the Zoomers are into, is witchcraft.
Yeah. And
which is accurate.
They blend in because lots of people are dressed like them for Halloween. Kathy Namache.
Right.
That was her name, yeah. What else? Oh, it was so stupid. They're flying on Roombas. Remember that?
Well, did you know?
You liked the Roombas, though.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I thought the Roombas themselves were funny characters because that was borrowed from Arrested Development, and the mayor of the town is Buster Bluth from Arrested Development. Oh, that was a nod to Arrested Development.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Because in Arrested Development they make a joke about the Roombas being like a pet. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yes, the costume party was all people wearing the clothes of the other sex, if you catch me. And people have been pointing this out, and yeah, it was really, really obvious.
Well, the magic shop owner, Gilbert the Great, remember that character?
Mm-hmm. The black dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about him?
Well, he wasn't straight acting.
Very inclusive. So very inclusive. Glad to see.
Rainbow. And he released the witches on purpose because he worshipped them. He had all of the collection.
Right. Well, but so did all of the teenagers.
Yeah, but he had collected all of their artifacts.
Yeah, he was serious about it. But if you remember at the show that they put on, right? At the show, everybody's dedicated to the witches. The whole thing is dedicated to them because they're famous in the town.
Yeah. And because they came in the 90s, and all of the people that were kids in the 90s saw this phenomena happen. Mm-hmm. And then they became obsessed with the witches. Right,
exactly.
And do you remember in the first movie, part of the plot point was all of the parents were going to this party, this adult Halloween
was
party.
Was it like an adult swingers party or something like that? Well, was that implied?
I don't know if they went that far, but I'm like, why are all of the adults abandoning the kids on Halloween and going to their own adult party? So the witches take over the concert and they sing One Way or Another. That was like the most awful thing to sit through.
This is so dumb, dude.
It was really bad. And they put enchantment on the town by singing to them.
Yeah, so basically the music, the pop music, mind controls the town.
Yeah.
Which is surprisingly accurate. I mean, that's essentially what a lot of the pop music is doing. And the way to break that is through pop music like I make, right? So when I make fun of the pop music, that will break the spell of the pop music. You'll see, hey, wait a minute, if this guy can in 20 minutes produce songs greater than the pop ballads upon the radio, it's therefore deconstructed in that very act.
I like your songs better than Kanye West.
There you go. Oh. Uh-oh. Yee gonna come after me now. Yee.
They sing one way or another. I'm gonna find you.
It was terrible.
It is terrible. Let's see. The adults are immature because mayor?
Buster
Blues. The mayor.
Yeah. All he wants is a caramel apple the whole time. He doesn't know anything except he wants his stupid snack. Which is
concerned about is the carnival and his apple.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the moral of the story, she has like a little redemption because she realizes that her powers aren't any good if she doesn't have her sisters with her.
Yeah, but it's not your sisters, it's the coven.
Yeah.
Right. So the only human virtues that you're bound to are the collective virtues of being loyal to your coven. That was the message of the movie.
Right. Well, Margaret Murray talks about covens in this article, and it's kind of where we get our typical witch data. 13 people in a coven. The head of it's the devil. The horn god. The sky-clad rituals in the forest on the full moon.
Are we done with Hocus Pocus?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were finding evidence of like horned gods in the very earliest caves.
It's in the Bible.
Like
I mean, the Bible talks about goat devils and satyrs.
Yeah. Can you see that guy?
Did you hear me?
Yeah. I know.
Right. So we know that there are these kinds of demonic beings. And my assumption is that probably there were drugs or hallucinogens used, in these kinds of Sabbat services, right, out in the woods. And so they would have been interacting with and seeing these entities on various forms of mushrooms or hallucinogens. Or I think Coattail has a whole stream where he talks about how there's some connection between what the goo on the witch's broom.
Oh, it's drugs.
Yeah. And then this puts him in the altered state. And I think this was kind of hinted at if you guys watched one of the more witchy well-made movies. I mean, it had a feminist goddess message, but Gretel and Hansel was good, and it portrayed a creepy witch in this way, right? Did she have a ooey gooey sticky broom? She did,
and she had black fingers.
And she was black goo.
Yeah,
too. She was baptized and came out of a pool of black goo.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
So at the very end of Hocus Pocus, the ancient bird witch is still flying around. So there's this thread throughout history.
The goddess chooses you, initiates you, and then blesses and, providentially guides your coven. That's the idea.
And so the young girls are supposed to be some kind of nouveau witch.
Yeah.
Right?
They're the new coven in succession to the old covenant, right? So the girl boss, girl power, lean in femlords of the 1600s are now the teenagers at high school that are doing spells. That's the message of the movie. So it's really stupid.
And they are the intellectual.
Everybody else is stupid and they're sophisticated, and it's really obvious programming and propaganda. Let's do Sentinel, because that one was really dumb too. Okay. This one was silly. So next up was this old movie that I've heard about a whole bunch over the years, and we finally got around to doing it. It was really goofy too. Very much a step down Rosemary's Baby type movie from the 70s, and
it did remind me of Rosemary's Baby a lot. Which I heard something weird about movies featuring evil kids.
Okay.
Do you remember we were talking about that?
La 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 la.
So that's a psyop because we always talk about DEPOP, right? And in the 70s, there was this push to make all of these movies with evil kids, like The Omen and Rosemary's Baby, and to put people off of having kids, because this was called the baby bust, where people already were like not wanting families. So they were trying to make all these movies with evil kids, so you wouldn't want to have.
This is also part of body horror and the genre of body horror, which is like offspring zygote horror. There's a whole bunch of these.
Yeah.
This is also an idea that, you know, creating babies and having more bodies is a horror. It's gross. Look at that. You know.
Or like The Brood. Remember that?
That's part of body horror. That's what I'm talking about, is this kind of stuff. There's a whole bunch of these from the 70s. Rosemary's Baby is one. Does this one have babies in it? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
But it's to your point that, every movie with that. And every time that there's an occult, satanic kid demon movie, you have the la-las.
Mm-hmm.
La 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 la.
Yep. So this one's taking place in northern Italy?
No.
It's
in New York.
Well, they go to northern Italy, and they're wearing weird vestments. And there's Jeff Goldblum.
No, she's a model, babe.
I know.
They're not wearing weird vestments because...
They recruit from modeling world.
No, it's not. This isn't a recruitment into... Well, okay, No, you're right, but I don't remember anybody wearing weird vestments. I remember... Like, she goes to do modeling work, and they take pictures of her all over. But where are you getting the weird vestments?
They were just wearing it. I don't know. I wrote it down.
But who's they? Do you remember?
There was a cult, and they were recruiting from the modeling world, like Zoolander. And so the girl is a cover girl in many magazines and commercials.
It's not a cult, though. They're actually just demons.
Oh. I didn't get that.
Yeah, they all disappear. They're hobo demons, too, in this, by the way.
Okay. So she's looking for an apartment in New York City.
Right. Yeah, she's a model, like a cover girl.
Yeah.
And this group of people organize things such that she will move into this apartment complex, which is a hellmouth, basically. That's it.
Right.
So hellmouth, like in Buffy, right? This apartment complex is a hellmouth. And the only thing relevant here is that she's interacting with and brought into this realm of the demonic through the modeling world. And that's an element where, you know, we haven't touched on a whole lot. We talked a lot about movies, the music industry, but the modeling world is another domain of this. I think everybody knows about this with the Peter Nygaard and all the stuff that came out about his stuff. Neon Demon was in a way about this too, right? Mm-hmm. Where you have the girl brought into the modeling world, and there's a bunch of witches that eat people.
Yeah.
That was at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So in the same way, you know, there's illuminate, confirm all over the modeling world. Well, and this movie was kind of about that, and it started out about that, and I was into it because but then it turned stupid. It gets really dumb.
Her boyfriend has a bunch of Houdini magician posters everywhere. Do you remember that? Yeah,
I think that was misdirection because we're watching it and we don't know exactly what's going on. Like, are they messing with her to use her in some way? And then suddenly the Catholic Church gets involved, and there's these priests and this, you know, it doesn't make sense, but the way this movie goes and what you find out that it actually is actually really ridiculous. And it would have been actually good if they had not made it ghosts. I mean, it was just really stupid.
Well, okay. People in the chat are confused. We're talking about Sentinel, 1977.
This is the 1977 movie Sentinel, which is about what you think is an apartment complex and a cult. Again, very Rosemary's Baby-esque. That's what I thought I was watching. But it gets even stupider because we find out that it's not just about demons and ghosts. It's about this ridiculous idea for what a sentinel is, basically. So.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so this is weird. She comes from a wealthy family, and she has this memory of walking in on her dad's ORGY.
Right. And that's when I was thinking, oh, this is going to be interesting. She's from this zillionaire family. They live in this Eyes Wide Shut style estate outside of, you know, New York City.
Yeah.
She's got hundreds of millions of dollars. She's a model, and she's being brought into the world of, you know, occult, you know, Eyes Wide Shut ritual stuff. That's not what it is.
Part of the way they picked Sentinels was like they try to get people who had unalived themselves.
Well,
Remember that?
yeah. So people that were at the point of trying to commit SUICIDE are taken by the church and brought into this program for SUICIDE people as a last chance, and they fake the deaths and they're given a new identity.
Yeah.
And the new identity is to become what they call a sentinel, which is to guard the hellmouth, which is what St. Michael and St. Uriel and St. Raphael used to do. Well, number one, why aren't they still doing it? And why do you have to be a blind nun it's just ridiculous. It's like, if you choose this job, it's your last chance to save yourself from your attempted SUICIDE. Oh, and by the way, I guess the archangels just walked away, like they're on break or something, and so now it's up to faked identity human beings in the Roman Catholic Church who are basically mind controlled. It's just really stupid. They should have just kept it as a cult. That would have been fine.
Yeah, the ghosts of her neighbors are really weird. There's a LESBIA
right.
couple.
The ghosts and demons are basically wicked people who, for whatever reason, can appear in this apartment complex because it's a hellmouth. It's a portal.
This has got probably one of the top weird, awkward scenes in a movie I've ever seen.
It does have some weird stuff.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
The lady sitting across the room from her.
We don't need to know that,
okay.
But yeah.
So,
there's weird stuff in this movie.
Her dad.
I don't recommend. I thought Sentinel was kind of crappy.
It got worse and worse. Like, it had so much potential.
Yeah, at first it was like, whoa, this is interesting, and then it just went.
Her dad's crusty ghost is haunting her on top of all that.
Very crusty.
He has a bunch of hoodoo masks on the wall and African art. So whenever you see somebody with masks on the wall, run, because there's like demons and stuff. It's always like a psychologist.
You mean in a movie?
Yeah.
Right? If you're in the movie world, not
if they have
not in the real
African
world.
mask or like ancient, voodoo artifacts and stuff, that's the bad guy.
Yeah,
obviously.
You're being messed with. The psychiatrist is messing with you if you see that stuff.
Let's see. Oh, she tries to get her life together and go to church, but the church is part of it.
It's not part of it.
The church is part of them making sentinels to sit on the help.
The church is part of it in that it turns you into a sentinel and gives you a second chance to be saved if you tried to off yourself.
Oh, okay. There's this weird part where she's like seeing Latin in the books. Like she can read Latin all of a sudden.
Yeah. Because of course angels speak Latin, right? That's like the trad cat view, right? But that's just completely ridiculous. Like why don't they speak English, Hebrew, Greek, right? Why they speak Latin? Come on.
So there are some CANNIBALDEMONS and disfigured people after her at the end. Remember? Those
are demons. They're said to be demons.
Yeah.
So the disfigurement represents their evil, right? The disfigured soul is represented in the disfigured faces.
I just like the third act did not bring everything together. It just introduced.
No, they tear down this whole apartment complex and rebuild it, but she's still up at the top being a sentinel. So
I don't know. I give it maybe like a 6, 5. What do you give it?
How many deformed lumps do you give it? Because that one guy he was like Alpha Man.
4 deformed.
Okay, 4 deformed lumps. I don't give it any. I didn't like it at all. Let's see. Let's do this
Lighthouse?
one.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was, as we said earlier, we're all wondering what is it like to be cramped in a room with Willem Dafoe farting everywhere, right? We all want to know that. This movie will let you know that. You will feel it. You will get the experience of that, right? Mm-hmm. How did you feel? Did you feel Willem Dafoe?
Yeah.
Breaking wind against your face?
Torture. That would be disgusting and.
But if it was Robert Pattinson, would it not be that bad, or would that also suck?
It would be less bad.
Okay.
But yeah.
Willem Dafoe looks like a head shrinker's doll before he got head shrunk, right? Like he looks like his normal face is a head shrinker doll.
Yeah.
And he would drive you nuts.
I actually fell asleep, so I don't know how it ended. You have to.
She Didn't Fall Asleep because it's a bad movie. It's a super weird. This is something else, and it's kind of gross. I'm not sure I recommend the movie, especially the Skittles undertones, right? Or not?
Well, I'm wondering how come they couldn't just have like some kind of pulley system. Why do you have to drag buckets of oil?
You're just trying to solve the logistics of the actual work. Like, you're not interested in the movie.
Every 2 hours, he has to drag this oil up all the way up to the top of the thing. I'm like,
yeah, we both were sitting there saying, like, why don't they just have a pulley system?
In the ancient Egypt, they had like things you could just do this. It doesn't make sense.
Well, that's because this isn't a real job. This is a mental prison / hell.
Oh yeah.
He's in hell.
Yeah.
So what happens is, basically, if you don't know, Robert Pattinson plays, what's his character's name? Ephraim. And he's on the run for some previous heinous act we don't really know about. We find out later that he has been involved in the murder of some guy. And so he's on the run and gets a job out in the middle of nowhere at this lighthouse as a wickie, which is the guy who carries the oil up to the top of the lighthouse to light the lamp. And he works under this crotchety, grizzled old coot, in the literalist sense, Thomas Wake. Wake obviously suggests death in terms of a Roman Catholic wake. So we know that this is already involving the domain of the dead, or Hades. And that's played by Willem Dafoe. And then Robert Pattinson's like, I'm here ready to work off all my debts, blah, blah, blah. And right away we start seeing all these weird, bizarre things occurring. And we know, right, we're in for a gritty, slow burn descent into madness. Literally. So this movie is about that.
Everything makes you uncomfortable. The color, the season, the coldness, the wind.
The stark black and white. The film is in black and white.
Threadbare quarters that they have to sleep in. Their food looks disgusting. All of it.
The grimy old prospectors' underwears that are worn and tooted through.
Gross.
The cheesecloth underwear. Well, actually, my favorite part is when Robert Pattinson gets fed up and calls out the gas, calls out the tooting. You fell asleep. You're fucking farting! There's a part where he goes off, right? Jamie had already fallen asleep, but I was over there laughing because he goes off, and he goes off on the gaseous expulsions.
And the gross... So, this is the second movie with gross touching yourself in it.
Yeah, so let's not get into those scenes. Again, this movie, I can't really recommend it. It's, I wasn't expecting a lot of what was in this movie. It will gross you out on multiple levels, right? Not just the gas, but, you got two dudes alone in a lighthouse, and one of these old men just doesn't have a whole lot of self-control. He doesn't really respect personal bubbles. So, he has no problem just ripping one in your face. He also has no problem telling you to go outside so he can take care of himself.
And then the guy before him had that same problem because he made that little mermaid lady statue. So this is something the lighthouse does to you, or just a problem that you have. But then, wasn't there a part where the light drives you crazy looking into that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a descent into madness, and it's also the Prometheus story, and it's also Proteus. So there's two Greek myths that are going to be played on in this film. And then there's other readings of the narrative which are possible too, which is that both Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson are different psychological aspects of the same person. And there's some it lends some credence to that because at times it's implied that one of them isn't there, the other one isn't there, so they're the same person. And the GAE Skittles element that pops up has to do, I think, it doesn't really show this, but it's implied, right? But that's self-love. In other words, you're in love with yourself, right? So it's Narcissus in that regard. And that's relevant because multiple Greek myths are referenced in this that refer to him being essentially condemned, right? So this is his condemnation. he arrives on this island, which he thinks he's going to work off his debt, but he can never work off his debt. That's the point, because he's damned. So he's in Hades, more or less.
So is this like purgatory for him, or?
But it's not. It's worse. It's Hades.
Oh, okay.
Because you missed the end of the movie, which is where he's laying on the rock, cursed forever to have the seagulls picking out his guts.
Oh,
that's from
like
Greek
that
mythology. Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's eternal condemnation. But why is he condemned? Well, because he basically commits all of the sins, right? There's hubris, there's guilt, there's dishonesty, lying, there's the vices that he basically gives in to every warning and every rule that he's not supposed to do, and that's because he's already condemned. So all of the vices that he gives into demonstrate for us that he's already in a state of being condemned. So basically the island is hell. Mm-hmm. It's his descent into madness, realizing that he's there, and he'll never get off the island. That's the whole point of the island. The island is a cursed island, right? Mm-hmm. And he's haunted by his conscience. Willem Dafoe represents his conscience for the man that he killed. That's why he keeps flashing back to this guy that he killed before he got to the island. So he's on the run, but it's his conscience catching up to him. And the reason his conscience is portrayed as this nagging old coot is because it's torturing him.
Mm. So what do you make of the guy that came before him? Is that just the same cycle? Because he's doing all the same things as the guy that came before.
Right. Well, in Greek mythology, there's eternal return. It's a never-ending cycle. There's no beginning and end in Greek mythology. It's just a representation of the same cycles.
Oh, okay.
So this, as Nietzsche called it, it's an eternal return. It's a never-ending cycle. It's a flat circle.
The chat's being funny.
They're always being funny. We have the highest IQ chat on the interweb.
They're saying you're twilighting me instead of gaslighting.
You fucking farted!
That's what I say in the middle of the night. Too chill cooting me.
There are, by the way, Freudian elements. There are other Carl Jungian elements. And Robert Eggers, in an interview, pointed out that he really relied heavily on Jungian archetypes. That's obvious. The old sage man, right? Basically, totally cribbed from Jung and Freud. It's really obvious, too. The lighthouse itself is phallic. It was said in the screenplay to resemble a wee-wee. Mm-hmm. So my view, though, is that Thomas and Ephraim, I agree with this guy who wrote this essay over at the, where did this come from? I don't know which site this is, so I'm not trying to rip this dude off. What's his name? I'll give his name. His name doesn't even pop up on here.
Is it up here?
Nope. His name is not Mashable. Anyway, some dude that writes for Mashable, his essay was called "What the Hell is the Lighthouse? What the hell did the lighthouse mean?" It's a pretty good essay. It's not as good as me, but it's not bad. But I agree that Thomas and Ephraim could even represent different aspects of the same person's psychology. Thomas is like the bestial, giving in to all his basest desires. Ephraim is like the ego, the conscious of social norms, struggling to maintain civility and reasoning. And this is all supported by the fact that we learned that Ephraim's real name is Thomas. So they have the same name.
Oh.
So.
What about the fish demon, mermaid, seductor, siren things?
That just represents another one of the vices, giving in to lust.
Oh, okay.
So, he also, by the way, makes reference to the Prometheus stuff, and the Proteus stuff is obvious. So if you want to go deeper and give it a Gnostic analysis, which I did listen to Isaac's analysis of this too, Isaac Weishaupt, shout out to Isaac. He had a pretty good breakdown too, where he tied it into Gnosticism, where perhaps the Willem Dafoe character represents the old crotchety old Yaldabaoth demiurge who won't let Robert Pattinson get access to the light, right? Because at night, Robert Pattinson realizes Willem Dafoe climbs up to the top of the lighthouse, and he basks in the light of the lighthouse, and like has this gooey sounding good time, so to speak. So he's basically having these unitive desires with the light in the lighthouse, And so Robert Pattinson's like obsessed with it, and he's like, let me see the light, let me see the light. And so he has to kill, eventually, Willem Dafoe to get up there to the light. And when he finally does it, it drives him crazy, and he like falls down the stairs of the lighthouse all the way to the bottom, and he basically is cursed to lay out outside on the rocks, right? And that's because he's Prometheus. He tried to steal the light or the fire of the gods. He was forbidden from doing that, and now he's cursed. What, Proteus is his name? So that's all. Yeah, that was all correct, accurate. Yep.
Those things are really cool. The lamp in the lighthouse, the way that the mirrors all reflect.
Not Willem Dafoe's farts.
No.
Okay.
Just
Those things are
like,
not cool.
Old timey bulbs. They're really cool.
Well, we walked up to the top of the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and we learned how hard it is to have been a wiki.
Yeah.
Nathaniel Witwicky. To be a wiki would be insane. Because remember, when you climb up to the top of this lighthouse, I'm not joking about it, like it's a really tall lighthouse in St. Augustine.
It's like 8 stories.
Yeah, you get up to the top of it, and you've been winding inside this enclosed thing for, 8 stairs or 8 floors. You're going to be super dizzy. Like, it's disorienting.
And it gets narrower,
yeah,
too.
and then, but you got to be carrying this like 80-pound jug of juice up there.
Oil.
No, well, in the movie they start drinking it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's implied too that they're part of the reason they're going mad is because they ran out of alcohol and they start drinking the
kerosene or something.
Whatever's oiling the lamp.
Oh, okay. Gross.
Guys, if you would, by the way, welcome. This is our 4th Spooktober. This is the 4th year. It's funny because the last Spooktober, well, actually, I think last Spooktober we did a bunch of different. Yeah, we did a bunch of different scary movies. But
we did Freddy's
yes.
Hellraiser. Halloween.
We have such sights to show you.
Yeah. Or burp beep, burp beep, burp beep, burp beep. Remember that one?
3 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Yeah, that was a classic. But before that, and that year, I think I just did Lost. I did Lost Boys like every year. So it was basically just every Halloween we reanalyze Lost Boys, which I never get tired of Lost Boys, by the way. It's a lot of fun. Michael.
Star. Would you smile?
Yeah, let's do Smile next. Lighthouse was fun. It's not fun. So if you're looking for a gritty descent into madness, that's a slow burn, which is like every movie review. Then but I'm gonna tell you right away that it's disturbing and gross. So be forewarned if that's your plan, is to do the movie The Lighthouse. How many Willem Dafoe farts would you give Lighthouse?
5.
She really got sick right there and saw it. We're not doing that one.
Smile's really scary.
We're doing Smile. I got my Smile notes over here. So Jamie was actually scared by Smile. It
Genuinely...
made her jump like 2 or 3 times.
Well, actually, the scariest thing about that movie, or the creepiest thing, was the music to me. I thought they did a really
it was really good creeper music. That's right.
The audio was disturbing.
By the way, guys, if you do want to support the show, utilize the super chat function. And as I explained to people at the beginning of the live stream, a lot of people have been asking me about PayPal. If you have issues with what's happening, remember that if you cancel, it will also cancel Jay's analysis subscription. So you don't have to subscribe to me in that way. You can also subscribe to me via credit card, and you can also subscribe to the website. And then if you don't want to do the website, you can also subscribe to Rockfin. So my Rockfin and the website can be done, without utilizing PayPal if people take an issue with what's happened recently. All right. Gritty slow burn. Blink, 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 blink. Right. Yeah. Every horror movie has plucking the violin strings. Blink, blink, blink.
As they're driving through a wooded road.
Blink, blink. Yep. Exactly. This is a well done gritty slow burn. Right. Mm-hmm. We begin in the what?
It reminded me of It Follows.
It is like It Follows, yeah.
And one other thing. What was it?
I don't know what it reminded you of.
Okay, it'll come back.
But it does. It is reminiscent of It Follows, because it kind of has that urban legend element to it. We've seen a lot of horror, like two things have returned to horror, which were never there for decades. And that's because most of the time it was such garbage. Remember the Jack Nicholson Wolf movie? Oh man, that was so bad. But werewolves are suddenly back, right? Like werewolves have been forgotten for decades. American Werewolf in London was that was like the last good werewolf movie that people liked. The Stephen King Silver Bullet is a piece of garbage. It's actually funny. It's so bad, but it's actually scared me when I was 4. Right. So if you're a 4-year-old, you might be scared by Stephen King's Silver Bullet.
Do you remember?
I remember thinking when I was a kid, they were talking about my mom and dad were like, we're going to go get Silver Bullet. I thought that was a beer. Right. Like, yeah. I thought it was some 80s beer. And I was like, don't drink beer. And they're like, no, it's a movie. And they told me not to watch it. And I snuck under the table and I watched Silver Bullet, and it scared the crap out of me because of that goofy rubber werewolf.
There was another werewolf movie. Do you remember Schneebelen?
The Illuminati.
So
the Illuminati.
Talking about Illuminati. And he would be like, werewolves live at the dump. And he's like,
why do they live at the dump?
Because they like gross things.
This sounds like a kid's joke. Like a setup for a kid's joke. Why did the werewolf live at the dump?
And
why?
Apparently, one of those werewolf movies, it was an actual transition, he said, like, caught on camera. And
oh, my gosh.
I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Okay, sure. What was it?
We're talking about Smile.
Oh, we were talking about urban. And the other thing is urban legends, right?
Yeah.
So urban legends, that was in Barbarians. That was kind of an urban legend kind of theme. And then, because remember that big inbred woman?
Yes.
She's basically an urban legend come to life. It Follows is basically an urban legend. And by the way, we talked about that today with, we did an interview with the Wrong Opinion dude. We had a good chat that we went into Under the Silver Lake and It Follows. And that's because Under the Silver Lake is the It Follows guy. So he did that movie.
So in It Follows, the curse is passed through SEX contact.
Right. It's basically the horror idea that when you violate the virtue of chastity, you are now prey for the demons. Right. Basically is what it means.
And then Smile is the trauma is the gateway.
Yes. Trauma can also be a gateway by which the entities like try to coax you into, letting them take you over. Mm-hmm. Which is also what this movie that we probably won't do tonight, we'll probably save for the next time, which was at this Look Away, which I'd never heard of and was also kind of gross in creepy ways with the relationship between the girl and her dad. But yeah, similar theme there where the alter entity, basically, literally an alter, takes you over through the trauma.
And it's weird that's called Smile because it's the opposite of trauma. Right, the happy demon face is like the evil side of the trauma.
Okay.
I don't know. That just came to me.
Well, I think the smile element is just the notion of the creepy, demon clown smile, right? I mean, we think of clowns. Clowns are always smiling, but it's like this creepy demonic smile, right?
Or like Joker.
Yeah, and in this one, it's specifically this entity that inhabits people, and it reminded me at first I thought it was going to be like the Fallen, with John Goodman and Denzel, which that one's kind of dumb because the demon passes through contact, right? I don't know why, but this is like Fallen, except that the demon passes through the trauma. So if there's a traumatic event and you're involved in it, and it also seems to involve bloodshed. Did you notice that? Mm-hmm. Like there's almost like a sacrificial element to where if the blood is shed, that allows for the portal for the entity not to come into a spatial relationship, but into the psyche, into the soul of the individual involved in the trauma.
Because if you see the ghost murder the person, then you become haunted.
Well, it's a demon. Yeah. It's literally a demon in this, not a ghost. But then the other thing is that you can become a cooperative co-worker with the demon because the only way that you can be spared is if you kill for the demon.
Oh yeah.
Right. So there's this pact that you can make with the demon. Spoiler alert. Right. So if you haven't seen Smile, you just got told pretty much what's going on. Although I haven't spoiled the actual story, this is just kind of telling you what's going on. But the first thing I noticed was that the people that we see at the beginning in the mental ward, they're explicitly nihilistic, right? They're weirdos with these different, mental disorders or whatever, but they state how nihilistic they are, right? Like the crazy dude who keeps repeating things to himself is like, there's no hope, there's no hope, there's no hope, there's no hope, we're all gonna die,
yeah.
we're all gonna die, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna die, right? So he's just repeating this like a mantra because he's capitulated to hopelessness. And then the next guy the main chick looks like Hillary Skank, right? She's like a B grade Hillary Swank. Call her Hillary Skank. But she actually looks pretty rough at the end. Like she looks like an actual skank, right? But so the main chick, who's the psychiatrist, looks like Hillary Skank. And she can't deal with these people because they're so nihilistic. And then suddenly they start killing themselves, right? So her patients are killing themselves. She can't figure out what's going on. But the second patient that she has does it in front of her, and she smiles. She does this evil smile, right when she kills herself. And then it passes on to her. And at the same time, she's concerned because her mother was a mentally ill person, which prompted her to go into psychology, right? So she's got, on the one hand, this past trauma that she had where her mom was crazy and abused her, not in a sexual way, but in a physical way. When she was a child, she would beat the mom would beat the kids, and so she and her sister had a tough upbringing. And we find out later in the film that that's actually the source of her trauma was her abusive mother.
And she was alcoholic or something.
Right. Well, that's why she was abusive, was that she had she was alcoholic. But what's interesting is that it's explicitly also a curse that is demonic in this movie. And the demon is attached to the trauma, and that's how the demon enters your life. So we might be tempted to think that it was only at the point when she's a psychologist and she witnesses the girl offing herself, but it's actually the stepping stone in. The demon says, I stepped in when you were a kid, remember?
Yes.
And so it's a lifelong battle with the cooperation and pact with evil that we're all placed in.
Right.
There is a reference, by the way, to the all-seeing eye that comes up, which is always in the case of the demonic. It actually enters, like you see from the vantage point of the entity entering her eye when the bloodshed occurs, right? Mm-hmm. We constantly see the right side world up switch and flip into the upside down, and that's done on purpose to tell you that you the viewer are passing into the demonic realm. Right, so you're going from the normal world into the inverted upside down world, which is what they call it in Stranger Things, the upside down.
Universe B.
Yeah,
Cleafot.
exactly.
Well, you just made a good point, and reminding me of something is the Joker in Cleafot, which is the reverse of the Fool in the tarot.
Mm-hmm.
He's like an evil Joker.
The evil trickster.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he always has this demonic smile.
Yeah.
I have a picture of that in my Hollywood Mind Control book, talking about that very thing, actually, in reference to a video that Beyonce made.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing this queen aesthetic, and there's this evil Joker. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, there have been multiple murders that she connects in this story as she researches it with her ex-boyfriend cop guy, right? The cop starts looking up the previous cases connected to her case. And it turns out that it's very similar to the story in Millennium Season 1. If you guys remember, in Millennium Season 1, Frank Black is studying all these ritual crimes that he comes to the conclusion that it's actually the same demon behind the crimes. And so there's a crazy serial killer judge. There's a sex guy who's obsessed with blowing things up because he finds that erotic. Remember that? Mm-hmm. There's a guy who's doing ritual murders, and the signatures of the crimes all point to the same demon. And so that was kind of the which I thought an interesting element to season 1 of Millennium. Millennium's a very weird show if you never watched it. It has like seasons 1, 2, and 3 are kind of, they go in really different directions. 3 is very different from the first 2, but it's a spinoff of X-Files, right? And so Lance Henriksen plays the detective Frank Black, who is an occult crime investigator, basically. It's overall a really cool show. Season 2 especially deals with, oddly enough, a giant BIO weapon that is released. So, you know, interesting elements in programming there. I did a whole analysis on my website, by the way, if you want to. We never did a full podcast, but I did do a big written analysis of Millennium. But season 1 is about this spiritual entity that's behind a lot of these occult crimes. Season 2 goes in a different direction. Anyway, there were several subtle elements in the movie that I thought were kind of neat, little Easter egg teasers. Like she has a coffee cup at the very beginning, which is a smiley face, which is just foreshadowing, right? Because the movie's called Smile. I was thinking too of my thesis that why do all the, like, what's the source of men with the soy face? All right, and the soy laugh. Is this some sort of a spiritual thing? Like they're partaking of some kind of spirit? Is it a purely biological thing that I've heard people talk about it being like a capitulation to like predator prey? Like the prey will do something like this to signify that they're not a threat to. I'm serious.
Oh, like chimpanzees smile or whatever.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? What was that Lord of the Open Holes that you were talking about a couple of years ago?
That's from the Book of Numbers, right? And that has to do with the ancient. In the Book of Numbers, when the Israelites are encamped at Baal Peor, they are tempted by the pagan worship of what was referred to as Lord of the Open, which is basically bodily FLUID stuff. What about it?
Just like soy face. Opening up all your holes.
Open your. Okay. Hey, interesting. Yeah, and a Freudian analysis from Jamie there, right? So yeah, maybe soy face. You could give us a Freudian reading of the soy meme.
But it's so weird because it's true though. Like, do you remember that Funko Pop picture I just sent you?
Mm-mm.
The guy who's like, I bought every Funko Pop.
Oh, that guy, the new soy face that just dropped. Yeah.
Why do they always do that? They're very good. Yeah. That's it.
I'm becoming very adept at this. I'm gonna have to like enter the competition, like who's got the better soy face. I'm have to start practicing. Let's see, Millennium. I mentioned that 2000s witch jump. I don't know what I meant by that. Witch jump. Was there a witch jump competition in the 2000s? I don't know what that note. Half the time I don't even know what my notes mean. I was writing this. I didn't bring my notebook into the movie. Usually I do. I forgot. But I was having to type this on the phone in the dark, so I don't even know what this means. Pentagram. Something about a pentagram in regard to the professor. I don't know about that. There's artwork that's dissociative in the movie. Trauma, blood sacrifice is what binds the entity to the victim. This might have an oblique reference to this phenomenon of the smiley face killers. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but multiple people have made documentaries, and I think even as diverse as Bret Easton Ellis to William Ramsey have talked a lot about the smiley face killers. And so the movie is not exactly about that, but it could have a reference to that because the demon is, it's basically a smiley face killer.
Do you remember the clowns a couple years ago around Halloween?
Yes.
They were appearing and there was some murders.
Which was that viral marketing for the Stephen King It Part 2, or was that, some people think it was that, or it was just weirdos, doing stunts for YouTube videos. I don't know.
Once you get the ball rolling on things like that, then other people take over and it becomes a thing.
Definitely. So she finds out that it's a curse. She thinks her family's cursed. It relates to her mom, and
the monster at the end was really scary.
It looks like a certain kind of Skittles person. Remember we were laughing at that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was grabbing your big bicep.
It looks like people that change. And I thought that was interesting. I didn't expect the entity to have that visage.
It was creepy.
It also had elements of Lost Highway, right? So there's a few references, I think, to Lynchian type of stuff in this movie, especially with the man from another place. So there's a part, for example, where she's talking on the phone to her fellow psychiatrist, and she gets a phone call, and it's the fellow psychiatrist that's on the phone, who's right in front of her. This is just like the scene where Pete Madsen goes to the elite party, and the man from another place walks up and is looking at him and talking to him on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he says, I'm calling from your house. You let me in. And in that movie, the demon is inside Pete, right? Pete let the demon in. So in this case, it's very similar in that regard to both It Follows and to Lost Highway, because she now has the entity inside of her. And we find out that part of the reason why this has happened is that she let her mom die. Even though her mom was abusive, the little girl has been struggling and dealing with this guilt her whole life, because the demon reminds her that when she was a child, her mom was about to die, and her mom said, hey, babe, can you please call the ambulance, call the ambulance. And she just closes the door and walks out of the room. So she essentially let her mom die. That's where the demon first stepped into her life, into her soul. And so these manifestations later on actually aren't the root of her problem. The root of her problem is that she, in a way, participated in the murder of her mom.
It didn't start when she just met that patient.
But she's guilty of murder.
Right.
Even though she was a kid.
Yeah.
And yes, her mom was abusive. You can't just kill your mom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the source of her trauma. And we think that this is another element I didn't expect, was that when she faces off with the demon at the end, we think, oh, girl boss, girl power. She's like, all I need is myself. Like, I can beat you with myself. And of course, doesn't do anything, right? So there's no reference. Let me put it this way. It's not a Christian movie, but there's this interesting element that, spoiler alert, she doesn't call upon God when she's faced with the demon. She explicitly notes that she can do it on her own, by her own works and by her own power. She's like, I have myself to beat you. And we think, oh, she beat it. She burned up the demon. But of course, when she goes back to her ex-boyfriend's apartment, the demon is there. So she's stuck in hell world, basically. So essentially in all these movies, except for Hocus Pocus, it's kind of like you enter into hell world by your own decisions, even in this life. Right? In the lighthouse, he was already in hell world when he got to the island. In this, she's already entering into hell world ever since she was a kid. Yeah. Being guilty of killing her mom.
That makes sense.
And her whole life was, I can do this myself. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can fix it. And the whole of psychology is that humans can fix themselves. Right?
Yeah. Well, in Hocus Pocus, what fixes it is becoming more powerful in magic than the demon.
Exactly. Yeah, great point. So the theme here is that, ironically, the more that you capitulate and give in to the demonic, the more the demonic has power over you, and you're destroying yourself. Again, why there is a value actually to horror movies, right? It's kind of like they're like Greek tragedies, right? We learn from tragedies. Tragedies are the stories where we learn what not to do.
Well, if you watch enough horror movies, you'll notice things running through the center of all of them, which is the virtues. The most virtuous people survive.
Right.
And
right. So in horror movies, as I covered in my podcast where I did the philosophy of horror, right, you have the virtues and the vices, and invariably the only way that the creatures, the goblins, the ghoulies, the entities, the boo hags, the boo daddies, the only way the haints get a hold of you is if you commit the actions where you, in a way, make a pact with them. Otherwise they can't get you. They might spook you, but they can't get you. But anytime you start to give in, that's when they get their hooks in you. That's the meaning of, right?
What?
Pinhead's hooks. He's got his hooks in you.
Oh, yeah.
We have such sights to show you.
So,
such pleasures, such pain.
what do you think about the girl Pinhead with the pearls?
It was really dumb. I mean, there was elements to the new Hellraiser that were interesting twists on this story, but it was full of, it was too much Skittles, too much weird, too much. The ending to me was a little too blasphemous, so I can't recommend the Hellraiser. Although the theme of the new Hellraiser is basically like not just becoming a Cenobite, but like demonic apotheosis, like becoming a saint of Satan is really but I didn't expect that that's what the movie's about, but it was pretty wild. So I don't recommend. It's pretty gruesome and pretty gross. But the last movie that we wanted to talk about was The Wailing. This was not the movie I expected. On the one hand, I thought, I don't know why, I thought it was like a Korean zombie movie, right? Because I was thinking this is like Train to Busan 2, and I saw that all over, like people were just hailing how great The Wailing was. So when I started watching it, and the main guy and like all of his buddies, they act really goofy. So it was actually really comedic, which I didn't expect. And like, there's something really funny about the way they act when the people get the possession in the village. Asian
movies are good at that, like horror comedy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
crossover.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're good at that.
And that's what this is. I forget what other movie this guy did. He didn't do the Train to Busan, which is actually good. But he did some other film I'd watched. Anyway, why is everybody talking about how good The Wailing is? And it's just a very different kind of film. So on the one hand, it does have the elements of creepiness to it. You have these occult elements that are odd because it's like, is there a Japanese version of Satanism? Because this strange villager who shows up from Japan in this Korean village, everybody's immediately suspicious of him, thinking that he's the sorcerer behind the recent outbreaks in the village, which are causing people to become cannibalistic serial killers.
We're talking about The Wailing.
The Wailing, which is a 20...
What
year is it? Did I write down what year?
No, it's a Korean...
I think it's 2019, 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so basically this the main character is this sort of goofy, kind of chubby police detective, and he's investigating these village crimes which involve just heinous, serial killing and cannibalism. So he's trying to figure out what it is, and then he's got friends, fellow village people that are laughing and giggling about the myths of the demonic creatures that inhabit the forest, right? And so the primitive people are like, the village people are, oh, it's the shaman, and the shaman is cursing people and causing them to do these heinous acts. And the cop is just like, oh yeah, whatever, sure, And then he starts more and more to believe, hey, wait a minute, there is this weird Japanese guy that showed up. He is a shaman, right? So he goes and sneaks into the Wailing Walk, not the Wailing Wall, the Wailing Walk. That's funny. The Japanese dude is a shaman, and he's got a giant Baphomet head altar with like blood and stuff, right?
The thing I noticed about this was how close the Asian witch doctor stuff is to African.
Well, that's what I was trying to say is like, so the Japanese guy's religion is like voodoo.
Yeah.
It's weird. It was like a primitive version of voodoo.
But they call him a shaman, right?
Yeah, but he's Japanese, so you think initially that he brought this there, but then we find out that the local shaman tries to do a magic battle with the Japanese shaman, and it turns out the local shaman really wasn't doing anything, because it wasn't the Japanese shaman that was the bad guy. He was actually trying to prevent the curses with his magic, and the Roman Catholic deacon guy, it's completely useless. He doesn't do anything, right? So you have this really weak, useless character representing the Roman Catholic Church who shows up to investigate, and he actually thinks it is demonic, and they go to the local Roman Catholic priest and bishop, and they're like, oh, we don't do that stuff anymore. So they basically deny, right, the existence of the demonic. And then, spoiler alert, right, it ends up being this there's a spirit that's been appearing to the main guy in his dreams and telling him what's going on. And then I think at the end, we're supposed to think that, no, it really, because he didn't follow the guidance of the spirit, right? His daughter and family ends up getting possessed, and then they end up killing people, and he's left alone, right? At the end.
It gets in his daughter, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, didn't you say that? Because I think I had to leave at the end, but at the end, you said that he came home, and because he didn't listen to the spirit woman telling him what to do. It was she's like an angel, basically.
Well, that was the weird part, because she was like, "Don't go home."
Right.
But he listened to her, and then they still all died.
No, he didn't listen to her. He went home.
No, if he would have gone before, he would have been able to save them. So I think she was a bad ghost.
Oh, so she was a ghost, like
yeah.
a demon.
Yeah.
Okay, I had it backwards then. Okay, well then that's why she killed the Japanese.
Japanese
that's why she killed the Japanese guy, because he was trying to do good.
Ghost.
He was trying to get rid of the ghost.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and that's why the local town shaman got sick when he went to her house.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense. So she was a demon.
And there was that old guy who turned. Remember, he was in the cave, and he turned into the devil in front of the priest. Because it got really weird at the end. Like, it turned to zombie.
Well, that's the demon inhabiting the individual.
Okay.
The bodies.
And then the guy turned into the devil at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it was fun. I don't know if it's the best movie of the last several decades, but it was definitely a lot of fun. By the way, guys, if you want to support the show, you can do so by not just subscribing at the website or over on Rockfin. You can also support the show by getting the products that we actually love and take ourselves, namely Choq.com. That's CHOQ.com. These are some of the best supplements that you can get, hands down. They're freaks when it comes to getting really pure ingredients, and so you can trust with certitude that Choq.com is not going to give you anything GMO, anything that's not of the highest quality. Jamie is a big fan. You still take that Shilajit, don't you? You like the Shilajit? I noticed you burned through these books. Like, she just now finished reading John Coleman's Committee of 300 book. That's a classic. So she definitely has benefited, I think, from taking the Shilajit. I'm a big fan of the Tongkat Ali, which is proven, by the way, to boost testosterone. They also have other products too, which you can get, like the Daily, which is great for overall supplementation. They have the 7 Wonders. They have the Action 2.0, the Irish Moss. That helps balance out hormones, especially for them ladies. So if you want to up your toxic masculinity by about a factor of a zillion, get over to Choq.com and use the promo code J50, that's JAY50, to get 50% off any of the products. That we don't know how long that'll be there. So again, we've been able to, at first it was 60%, and they had to drop it down to 50% about 5 months ago. But we might not even be able to sell supplements given the legislation that the left and people like that are trying to push. So get on over to Choq.com, use that promo code right now, 50% off. I guarantee you that you're going to love it. In fact, you're going to like it enough that you're going to want to use the recurring subscription promo code, which they have that now. So if you want a little more of a discount, that's J53Life. That's J53LIFE to get access to a better discount for recurring subscriptions, so you don't have to put that information in every time. And Jamie, you love to read these super chats. You want to read us a super chat? So let's see. Hold on. I got a couple. Let me read a couple from the other day that came through towards the end. Some guy who won the Trent debate. Have you ever lost online debate? I lost debates a long time ago, like written debates, arguing with people on forums and stuff. But modern public debates, I don't think I've lost. And I would say that I think I won that debate because Trent didn't. In fact, he said some kind of ridiculous stuff like the Old Testament God's not the Trinity. Papa Doc, $1. Do you participate in political movements? Not really, no. Let's see. King N, can't say that. What do you mean that orthodoxy is not legalistic? It's not focused on a bunch of do's and don'ts. It does have good and bad. What would we be if not legalistic? Well, I think that the spirit of the law is more important than the letter of the law, and that's the point. So we're not Pharisees. It's just making that simple point. That, yeah, we do have rules, but we have rules for, what does Jesus say about the Sabbath? The Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath, right? Doesn't that illustrate the point I'm trying to make? Dancing Duck, $1. Is it bad to think of yourself as better than others? Depends on the setting and the case, right? Like in the Sunday, the publican, the Pharisee, if you think you're better than other people and you're more righteous than them, then yeah. But in a case, on a case-by-case basis, if you've done something right and somebody else has done something wrong, it's not, you would be lying to say, oh, I was the one that did the wrong and not them, right? So you can't lie. And there's a balance to these things. I've heard Christians talk about virtue signaling. We are all unequal, and obviously some people are more moral than other people. Yeah, right. So there's times when it's right to judge things. There's times when it's wrong to judge coming from a spirit of being a Pharisee. So that's what I was getting at.
I'm thinking of that part of the pledge that we say where we say, I'm chief among sinners. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of dumb to think that, you know, you're not a better person than like a politician or somebody like that. Or like I like that you use a politician and not like Jeffrey Dahmer, right? Like, well, I think he did convert in.
Okay, but he died. You know my point.
Like Hilliry or somebody like that. Like, you know.
King N. Does the Orthodox Church have sex scandals? Yes, every church, every group does. What is your opinion on Padre Pio? Yeah, I mean, we don't do or believe in Roman Catholic saints, so we don't believe that the stigmata is some sign of divine grace, or even if there is any such thing as stigmata. King N again, $3. Angels and demons, are they pure spirits or do they have a kind of bodily form? There's different opinions on this. If they have some kind of ethereal body or whether they're pure noetic beings. I mean, and maybe there's different kinds. I mean, there's 9 different choirs of angels, so there might be different types of angels.
Physicality is different in the different dimensions.
Well, I mean, either that or like they can actually take on physicality and shed physicality. I mean, angels can appear as beings with bodies, as Hebrews says. 50 Shades of Beige, $3. What's the scariest movie you've ever seen? I think that certain movies are scary at certain times in your life, and then later they're not. I mean, I remember when I was like 16, you know, I thought The Exorcist was scary. But now when you watch it, it's like, it's not scary. It looks ridiculous.
One from the 70s about evil kids. So that just proves my point even harder. Scariest movie, I think, for me is like Dr. Sleep. That's one of the scariest movies.
I don't think Dr. Sleep is scary, but I think that there are modern horror movies that I thought were genuinely creepy, but I haven't been scared by a movie in a long time. So like, let's see some of the ones that stand out. The Devil's Candy, that was a recent movie which Jamie hasn't seen yet, which I thought was genuinely creepy.
Were you scared of Grimcutty?
No, that was dumb. I thought that was really stupid. Inland Empire is disturbing. It's not really the same thing as scary. Smile was kind of creepy in a entertaining way. What did you think?
Smile, I would put it up there with like It Follows.
Creepy.
Creepy, yeah. But next Spooktober, we're going to be doing Look Away.
Not next year,
no.
but this month, the next installment of Spooktober, yeah. Or next week.
And what was the other one?
We have a list. I forget what we put on there. There's some classic horrors that we've not. Poltergeist is one we want to do because we haven't really broken down Poltergeist.
Drag Me to Hell. That was pretty scary.
That could be a fun one. Yeah.
Hereditary is creepy and disturbing.
We did Hereditary last year, guys. So if you look on my community tab, if you want to see some of the previous episodes of Spooktober, I did share some of those. We did Hellraiser, Freddy. We did Hereditary. I've done Lost Boys, and I've done John Carpenter's Apocalypse Trilogy.
Midsummer was scary? That was pretty scary.
I wouldn't say scary, but it was definitely off-putting and disturbing.
Yeah.
But again, like none of these are really scary. I mean, again, I think Devil's Candy was probably the creepiest movie I've seen in a long time. So I'll have to show that one to Jamie, and she can see if that's basically a slow boy that gets possessed. So it's disturbing and scary at the same time.
What's the last super chat?
Hoot9, $10. You want to read that?
It just says, thank you both for the stream.
Well, thank you, Hoot Nanny.
For $10.
Hoot Nanny, what's up? Much appreciated. I will probably have to move the stream over to Rockfin because of playing the Lost Boys clips at the beginning, which I think I've already kind of put the copyright dinger on it, which means that it won't get algorithmic promotion. So if you guys are watching this will just move over to Rockfin. What were you going to say?
Brotherhood of Satan, I think, was one of
Yeah, that's a 70s B movie that we might do. And yeah, that one was one. There's a couple of these B movies we might throw in there, like Dunwich Horror with Dean Stockwell.
Oh, yeah. That one.
But that's a like terrible rated B movie. So, but sometimes we love to throw the B movies in. Sentinel's kind of a B movie, so we threw that one in today. But I hope you guys enjoyed inaugural fourth year, or the inaugural episode of the fourth season of Spooktober. So if you're watching this, recommend below some of the esoteric, weird, horror or psychological thriller movies that you think we should do, supernatural thriller movies. And also remember, if you're curious if I've done it, just go ahead and search, right? You can go to my channel, and on the front of the channel, there's a search bar up at the top where you can search my channel. So if it's not popping up in the normal YouTube search algorithm, you can search, J, Nightmare on Elm Street, or just search my channel for Hellraiser, for Hereditary, for To the Devil a Daughter. What's the other? We also did the Dennis Wheatley, Occult British Intelligence, the one with Christopher Lee. What's the one where he's not To the Devil a Daughter, the other one?
Did you get deleted on that one?
No. That's Eye of the Devil. That's nothing to do with Christopher Lee. I'm talking about the where he's there's a secret sect within the Catholic Church mind controlling that girl. Remember? With Christopher Lee.
Did she play the organ?
No.
I don't remember.
To the Devil a Daughter. But there's that one, and there's the other one where the satanic cult is kidnapping and trying to... You remember this one, right? Mm-hmm. To the Devil a Daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Where Christopher Lee is like mind controlling that girl.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then there's the other one where the bad guy is based on Crowley. Right? The Devil Rides Out.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. But, yeah. So, we've done all those. So, just search my channel if you're looking for those previous installments. Let me look really quick and see what we did on these past ones. We did... I did Exorcist. So, you can... I did Fallen, Constantine, and Exorcism. Or all the Exorcists. That was Spooktober like 2 years ago. 3 years ago, I did Lost Boys, Blade. That was fun. Halloween, Life Force, and Monster Squad. Last year, Jamie and I did Squid Game, Nightmare on Elm Street. And we also did Child's Play, The Cube, and Hellraiser. That was also last year. So there's quite a few. There's several of them that are kind of racking up. So go and watch those previous installments, and we'll be back for... the next Spooktober very soon.
No,
Again, put your ideas below. Put your ideas below.
I'll read this.
Who's Sam? Who?
Saween.
Sam Hain.
Yeah.
Sam Hain.
That's not how you say it.
That's Frodo.
I know.
Sawayne.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work for Frodo to say that.
I know.
Anyway. If you guys would hit like and share, and again, leave me your ideas below. Support us via the Chalk products, and support us via going to the shop at the website and getting the books, signed copies. We got Jamie's books over there. I have all my books in stock. The red one's on order, but there's this. And also, guys, there is the speaking event this weekend in Nashville. Courtney Turner, who you may have seen me on her podcast a few times, she's doing an event where she does aerial acrobatics, and she does a little kind of talk. And then I will be speaking on the global elite techs, Brzezinski and technocracy and so forth. So the tickets for that event is a ticketed event. I have hired private security, by the way, for weirdos that are thinking of coming. You can get the tickets in the show description. October 15th at, I don't remember what theater this is, but when you buy the tickets, it'll tell you where all that is. Anything else?
What's the last comment?
Right there.
The chat.
No, read the super chat.
Something is asking me a question.
Well,
okay.
we give
$2
precedence to the
from
people
unknown.
that pay for the questions.
Did Rome have a special authority in the early church? What was the extent of it? Why Rome and not some other
Yeah,
city.
so we've